You join me for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So I remind everyone that this meeting is being telecast and recorded on Channel 14. I also remind any member of the public who wishes to make an audio or video recording of the open session of this meeting to first notify me as the chair, and I will then inform the public of the recording as required by the open meeting law. Two very quick quotes. First one, believe it or not, is from Jimmy Dean. I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to reach the destination. The second quote is, perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. And that one is by a gentleman whose trophy is in his name, which the Patriots will be, I think, getting in a couple weeks, Mr. Vince Lombardi. That one for you, Bill.
Go Atlanta.
Because I know how much of a Patriots fan you are.
Piece of cake.
So Theodore is not here, so we'll miss the student advisory report. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's mid-cycle evaluation.
Public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Public comment. And since there's no public here, I think we'll move on for that. You taking this or you taking this?
Well, I'll just start by that we met on, what day was that, Kelly?
Can I have my, the last one back? Thank you.
Tuesday? Was that last Tuesday? Last Tuesday we met and went over Nancy's progress report or mid-cycle review, and had the binder there and went through all of the progress that Nancy has made so far this year. And we were able to, we had 3 observations that were completed, and that made us feel really good because that means we're right on schedule. And I just want to commend Nancy and really all of us for really, with all of the different components of this year, and it being very challenging in many ways, with the loss of James and Owen, and with T-ticket school relocation and coming back. We've actually made it to on this timeline, which is absolutely amazing. So I kudos to Nancy and to all of us for really keeping everything going. So thank you.
So in front of you, you have a copy of just a progress report on the goals only. And if you have any questions, I'm certainly happy to answer them. Attached also to my progress report are copies of the observations for you to look at. And then looking forward, there are just a couple of attachments at the end in case you're interested in any further observations, from any other school committee members, whether it's on visits to the elementary schools or any of the budget presentations that Patrick Murphy and I are doing. I just added those in case anyone wanted to observe them.
So the second list is your visits to the elementary school?
Yes.
Is that what this is? Okay.
Sonia and I are both doing reading to the elementary schools during this no-gov time, and we have chosen very special books with the help of 8 cousins to carry a specific message.
Great. Questions for Nancy? Any last comments?
Yes, just that we do have, there's the suggestion of observing Nancy during the reading, which I have heard has been going really well. You
So
went
much
to
fun.
2 classes with my children, so they loved it. Yeah. So I got to hear about the other side and
The
the
other side, that's
small.
Sally, the smallest girl in the smallest grade.
So both
Made a
kids,
difference.
yes, definitely. So I think that would be a wonderful observation, and that would align with the goal number 2, with increasing the visibility in all of the schools. So that would be a great observation over these next couple of weeks. And then that we're going to have the school budget presentation, and that would align with goal number 1 for the district improvement goals. And so that's another opportunity to observe Nancy in action. And we also have, for professional practice goals, the number 1, the presentation of the equity audit
That will be coming.
that Nancy will be presenting soon. And so, as you know, Walter, Kelly, and I have done our observations, so now it is on the rest of the committee to
Do 3 more, right?
do 3 more.
But hopefully the list of suggested things to actually observe will help, so you're not struggling to figure out what to observe.
Yeah, and I think those are great opportunities to see Nancy in action, so.
And the binders, I do have the evidence binders up and going and organized, so they're available to school committee members as evidence on standards and on the goals. And I'll just make one quick comment about the reading. I was asked by a little girl if I was a Super Nintendo. I love that.
You said yes, right?
Yes.
Anything
That
else?
was really sweet.
Walter?
Just an additional comment, this being Nancy's second time around, I continue to be impressed at her effort in terms of the amount of work she does to improve, continue improvement. So unlike some people I've known where they get a good result the first time around, get complacent, that's the last thing she's done. She's still working really hard at making continued improvements, and I think that's a very commendable approach on her part. So I just wanted to add that in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Any other comments?
Can I just highlight the timeline coming up?
Please.
Okay, so after today, we won't have any more evaluation-related things other than everyone doing their observations until the middle of March, when we'll review how to complete the end-of-the-year evaluation. And then, excuse me, and then by the 7th of April is when all our evaluations will be due. So from the time that we review how to fill it all out again, it'll be about a month, just under a month, that everyone will have to work on those and then complete them. And then we'll have our summative presentation on the 25th of April.
Kelly, does it say when we have to have the observations done by?
The observations are done by March 28th.
Okay.
So that there's enough time
2
to
months.
compile them and have everyone see them, because it won't do any good if they're done after everyone is already working on their evaluation. We need to all have them in order to complete the evaluation. So that's why it's so far ahead of the other deadline. March
Just over
28th.
over 2 months.
Right.
Great. Okay.
Preferably not at the last minute, so we don't make Nancy crazy.
And now that you have the 3 other observations too, those can be kind of, if you need some support in like how to write up the observation, thinking of you, Bill, because this is your first time doing that. So if you need any
Right.
support with that too, you can totally reach out to us.
Thank you.
About that. Okay.
I'll just give one last word. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
All right, moving on. Presentation of the FY18 budget. You have a budget overview in your packet. And if you don't have them, I think Sharon has more copies up there. Sharon's got some.
All right, thank you.
Sharon, could you pass one down?
Does anyone else need one?
Packets.
A copy of the presentation? Oh, we're all good?
Could I have one?
Is it different than
It
the
is.
one from, is it substantially different, or am I
No.
gonna be all right?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good.
I'll be okay.
Yes, some of you have heard this many times, including just recently with the Budget Subcommittee. And I've just made very fine changes on it, so I think we're ready to go. So we'll start with our district priorities. And I don't think they're, again, anything that you haven't heard before. The priorities we have worked on with the central office staff and with my administrative team, which includes all my principals. And they're in front of you. I think one of the pieces I really want to call out is I'd like you to just notice the outside consultants who are working in the district. Dr. Deb Harris, you've heard about Dr. Harris from Student Services many times. Ms. Janice Barron, who is really helping us focus on supporting accelerated learners. Dr. Jessica Hockett at the secondary level is helping us with differentiated instruction. And then we have Dr. Gaffoon, who is MTSS from the Massachusetts Tiered System of Support. And that's through a grant through the Cape Cod Collaborative. So she's coming in and helping us with support. And then just one other piece, we're really working to support site-based budget development. So Patrick's been working with the principals on their development of their budgets for their individual buildings. So if we continue, another very big priority for me is to be able to sustain over the next 5 years that which we have been able to build. We want to invest in programs for the long term and not just bringing something in and then finding that the budget can't sustain it and starting over. So we really do want to sustain our special education building-based administrators that we put into the buildings to make sure that we were not only compliant with the regulations, but making sure that all students and teachers with special needs are supported throughout the district, and that we have alignment in those supports. We did bring back a health assistant, the library teacher at the Lawrence School, our 2 additional department chairs, the English Language Development Department Chair and the Fine Arts Department Chair. So I would like to sustain those. And we have that additional English language development teacher that we added, and we continuously watch that population to make sure that we are servicing their needs, and that population we project will continue to grow. As this committee knows, we are looking at outsourcing our before and after care agency, go ahead, programs?
Yes, I'm sorry, could we
Yes.
go back to that? In the last couple of years, we had trouble with our amount of time or something on.
Yes.
Are we good with that now, or are we still?
We are. We're
Yeah.
much better, but you're absolutely right. I continue to fail the CPR piece. We kept being cited because we did not have enough teachers to meet the recommended minutes for students based on their proficiency levels. Okay, so our before and after care for kids, we do not have the staff to provide the number of hours that are needed here in Falmouth for our families. We have the Title IX compliance, we've talked about that. Again, improving growth, student individual growth for all students. And we hope to complete our contract negotiations with the FEA in the next couple of months.
Can I ask you a question about the before, after school?
Yes.
So when you say we don't have enough staff, is that because we can't find people to fill those positions, or?
Well, it's really multi-layered. That's one part of it. We have staff, we can't do the hours, the number of hours, because it really has to be overseen by an administrator. If you have a program in your building, you are held responsible and therefore liable for that program. And I do not have the staff, I do not have the administrators to be there at a certain time in the morning and stay there until a certain time at night. And that's a need in the community. But we really need to have someone who is responsible overseeing those programs.
Thank you.
I'm not saying that anyone's not responsible, but if it's in a school building,
Right.
it should be a school
understand.
administrator.
Right.
And right now, that falls on our cost as a school district, correct?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
And that even if we outsource it, it will still come out of our budget. We'll have to be paying for that.
No,
Not necessarily.
no.
Oh, okay.
If we
Oh, I see.
brought
All
in
right.
an outside agency, they would rent our space.
I see.
They would be responsible for programming and all the students, and we would have to make sure that we maintain the upkeep of the building.
Got it. Thank you.
Well, so if we move on to budget requests, and I want to be really clear that We are working to stay within the advisory of the 2.3 increase from the town of Falmouth, and that I'm not looking to increase the net number of positions in the district. You've heard this before. You've heard the physical education and health department head has been on the budget. It was on the budget last year, a request. We weren't able to fulfill that, so we're going to look at that again this year. The pre-K autism spectrum teacher, again, we're monitoring the cohort to make sure that that is the place that we have the greatest need, and it fluctuates. That's why the asterisk is there. We have our elementary clinical adjustment counselor, our language-based learning center teacher at North Falmouth, and again, we just want to make sure we have the cohort numbers. And then we're looking for a director of human resources, and we're looking for clerical support for the director of technology and library media. And I won't go through all of the justifications for each position, but they are spelled out. And we'll move into our considerations. And I don't think that anything on our assumption slide is going to be new. It's our projected overall enrollment. We have an advisory that Chapter 70 will increase by 2%. And Patrick will speak to these in just a minute. Our entitlement grants, again, flat, trending downward. Overall utility costs are pretty flat. Inflation remains low. Our out-of-district special education tuitions right now, again, are flat or trending downward. And that I really do believe is due to the work that we are doing in district to support students with special and severe needs. And I think the district's doing a great job with that. When it comes time and a team agrees that a student needs to go for an out-of-district placement, we certainly don't hold that up if it's agreeable with the team and the parents. And then number 7, principals reallocating their resources to fulfill their position requests. So if they're asking for a position, they need to take a really hard look at their building and let us know how they're going to fund that position request. Variables again, state budget information, we're still waiting. You know that that comes later. Increase in the cost of healthcare, the impact of collective bargaining, steps, lanes, longevity. We know that will impact our budget. The vocational school tuitions, charter school tuitions, general education transportation costs will rise. That's what we're predicting. And we always keep the elimination of any grants in mind, and you know that full-day kindergarten grant was eliminated, as was the MCAS tutoring grant at the high school. So here's our, just a slide on our funding sources. If you have any questions, please ask. Local allocation, which includes Chapter 70. We've talked a little bit about circuit breaker and special education, school choice, entitlement grants. Patrick?
Sure, and this, as you can see, is last year and this current year. And what we do know is the local allocation. The town has identified that number, and I'm sort of jumping ahead, but that number will be, is our budget number. But the other numbers here, the circuit breaker number, the school choice number, entitlement grants, we don't know about those till much later in the year. Circuit breaker, we usually get some advisories in the April-May time period. School choice estimates are really not given to us through DESE until July, and entitlement grants through the federal government is really a summer notification also. So in our estimates on how those funds get used, we have to be very conservative, and we're going to be especially conservative with the entitlement grants this year.
we always provide the school committee with the per pupil spending, surrounding towns, comparison with the state. You can see Falmouth is right there in the middle.
And any of this information is straight from the DESI website, and it's the most current data that they put up there for every community in the Commonwealth.
And the next slide is just a chart. You can look at it a little differently. District and Massachusetts average. Next one is just in the numbers. We updated the enrollment data as of the October 1 Sims report from this year. So that's as accurate as we can get it right now. And then you can take a look at our student demographics. Our allocation and enrollment trends over the years.
And so that the 46,588,529 number that's put up there is the town allocation, which is the 2.3% increase.
Our spending by function. For me, this is important to put up because while this is FY15, because I don't think DESI has updated, I don't think that we are administration heavy, and sometimes that can be a concern. The most important piece, are the classroom and the specialists, the people who deal directly with our kids.
And what's the blue line? Yellow is Falmouth, is blue state average?
Correct.
Yes.
Yep. And in this graph, if DESI does have this graph up for a few previous years also, and it looks very similar.
Very similar.
Can I ask a question actually from
Yes.
a couple slides? Sorry,
Go ahead.
I'm a little slow here, but I'm looking at the free and reduced lunch, and I know that that it changed last year. So I just want to acknowledge that when we're looking at that percentage, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have less students that needed.
It's a very good point. On the free and reduced, because the formula shifted and they didn't necessarily rely on the free lunch forms, they looked at association with Mass Health and if families or students were involved in any state agency, and they gathered their data that way. And that doesn't mean necessarily that our numbers went down, because our kids may not be registered or receiving any help from state agencies. That's a good point.
And that happened in communities all across the Commonwealth.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the other
So
story
the
there.
numbers
So it
look
doesn't mean
better.
our needs are going down,
Are
it's just.
Yes,
the way-
poverty went down because the calculation changed.
So it looks good for the state then.
It's a discussion.
Well, it shows that there are families who do qualify for free and reduced lunch who are not getting state aid.
Yes,
And that's
unfortunately.
unfortunate, yeah.
And when we find them, we do try to hook them up. Doesn't mean that they aren't getting free lunch, however. You know, if a kid needs free lunch, they get free lunch. It just means that the state doesn't necessarily look at those forms. So you can look at our budget history and request broken down by building over the years.
And the comment on this is that the principals, since at the school-based level, the salaries take up well more than 80% of the budget. Principals really have limited ability to impact their budget. So if one budget went up and another went down, that's really salary movement. More senior teachers versus new hires, that type of thing. And especially if you include utilities in there too, the principals don't have control over that. But I do have to say that we've made a commitment to trying to maximize the amount of money that the principals have for supplies and materials and let them use that money. We're at about $615,000 across the district for supplies and materials, school supplies and materials, and that's the highest we've been ever. And we've, one small but important distinction this year is we did identify a line item for ELL supplies and materials to make sure we're serving all children.
And then if you look at our, there's some additional initiatives that are included in the FY18 budget. You've heard Tim McLaughlin talk about the science program at Morspon, and he's looking to really take a look at his labs and redesign them. We're looking at FM systems in classrooms across the district. We have our security measures, a textbook replacement plan. Zach Waterford is really looking at that standardization of the elementary reading program. Our professional development for our academically accelerated learners, technology and infrastructure updates and replacements, and we're in the middle of a health services need assessment right now. These are all included within the FY18 budget.
What does health services needs assessment mean?
We have someone from Northeastern, and they do this all over the state. They're coming in, basically I wanted some information about, and Charlie and I have had this conversation several times, about nursing services in our district. And numbers, services, where do we need to improve, what does our structure look like compared to other districts? And I just really wanted some feedback to make sure that we were doing the best that we could.
Great.
And then lastly, our next steps moving forward. Again, really trying to be fiscally responsible with the money for the district. We continue to develop plans that are multi-year plans. We really want to complete that collective bargaining process in the next couple of months. And we are maintaining and updating the district's capital plan, making sure that we're keeping our capital projects out in front. So if you have any questions, we do have the budget books. I think they've been distributed. And if you have any questions, please let me know, because we will be coming back. And after the hearing, we'll be asking you to vote on the budget.
Kelly.
I don't know if it would be possible, actually I'm sure it would be possible, but I don't know if you would want to, but on the allocation and enrollment trend page, I find it really interesting to, I was sitting here calculating it myself, to see the percentage increases each year.
Sure.
Because we know what this year is,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it varies greatly. You know, we've had decreases, we've had years that were 0, and it went way up, then it goes back down, and I really like that, to see
The percentage.
the
Yeah,
percentage.
Sure. Understood. Yep.
It's easy enough to do. I just
I
don't
can
know
calculate
if there's-
that.
I don't know if anyone else is even interested besides me, but
It's something that
It's something
that
you're
I pay
interested in,
attention to.
I'm sure.
That's exactly right.
Leah.
I think it's also, I like seeing it this way, because from fiscal year 2012 to fiscal year 2018, you can see that our student enrollment really has maintained, has stayed the same. So when, you know, we hear those pieces, people saying that, no, our enrollment has gone down, it really hasn't. We've really maintained our enrollment, and so it's nice to see that trend, and that's for a long time.
And can I just make a comment on that? And I made it in an earlier meeting. I think that numbers of students, that's one data point, that number of students each year. But the other really important piece to me is to really evaluate and look at programming that we're offering kids. So it's very easy to say, well, you have square footage, you can have so many kids in a building, but really take a look at the programming. And that's really important, at whether it's at the high school, when we look at the programs that we have there for kids, even in our special education programs where we need additional space and rooms. So programming is one piece, number of students is another piece.
Sorry. Terry.
I think two things are one thing, but with two different sections. I thought was innovative and really helpful is bringing in outsiders to look at what we do too. Like in the priorities number 2, these different people who are looking at different programs, and the organization look at the health services too, outside things.
Thank you.
If anyone needs, would like to meet privately or in a small group, and once you start to dive into your blue book, I'm very willing to do that. I know sometimes that book is just gathers dust because you get a little intimidated by it, but I'm very willing to sit and talk that through. I will be distributing one of these blue books to our 3 libraries in town tomorrow. If they're open tomorrow, I'm not sure. We'll check on that. So, and 4 members of FinCom representatives to the school committee have already picked up their books.
Yes.
And Town Hall, the CFO has a book.
Thank you, Patrick. Any other questions? Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
All right, next item on the agenda is review of the 2017-2018 school calendar. This is review tonight. We will vote on this at a future meeting.
Yeah, I just want.
So in your packet, you have a copy of the draft calendar, and the calendar committee met yesterday, and they are, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but they, this is coming out of that committee. We're not asking you to vote on it tonight, but we are asking you to look at it.
Discussion? Comments?
I have a comment.
John?
Yeah, within the course, I just thought I'd put it out to the group. Within the course of our discussions, and Nancy is speaking, you're absolutely correct, that we concluded to present this as a recommendation to accept as is. I have a comment, though. What I had hoped for was within the course of the calendar committee meeting was to have a majority come back with a presentation of that we would reconsider having the name Good Friday on it for that particular date. As last year, it was discussed to remove the name from the date and have it be on a day off and then carry it off because it was piggybacked onto a vacation week. I think with the item standing, with the day standing alone, and just with additional information that we have as far as within the course of meetings where we had on certain dates where we had a vote that was put forth to change a school committee date, which was a motion that was put forth by Alan and was voted on to change a school committee meeting because of the actual verbiage was Yom Kippur. So I think the precedent is set that we had done that for that particular date. And then, so with that in mind, and then it was voted on, the minutes of it were voted on the following, and I'm at a loss actually for having the paper that actually has it. Here it is here. So on August 23rd, we had a thing changed school committee meeting date from October 11th due to Yom Kippur. It didn't say a nondescript item. It said, so and then when we voted on the actual vote was motion by Susan Augusta to move the school committee meeting from October 11th to October 4th, 2016, seconded by Terry Medeiros, unanimous vote. So I think the precedent was set, and I think there's another program that we have going on right now in our school system, which is great. The Facing History in Ourselves from a Brookline-based group with Eli Wetzel's book is discussed. It's a great program, and I found it interesting. Another bit of information that I shared with Melissa and Leah, and that the Brookline school calendar actually has, because they came to the conclusion that they would have enough folks, I'm assuming they came to the conclusion that they would have enough people that would be out on both Good Friday and on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, that they have all those listed as official holidays. And it just says school closed, Yom Kippur, school closed, Rosh Hashanah, school closed, Good Friday. And I'm just looking at it, and Boston Public Schools has it, wherein they concluded that they just had enough people that it would be a secular reason, staffing and whatnot, to not have it, and they just have it as Good Friday. And Barnstable has it as Good Friday. And I'm looking at that these other districts are pretty much self-aware and mature enough to look at it and say, hey, we're just saying that it's off because there's not going to be enough people, or there'll be tens of thousands of dollars to have people replace individuals that will not be in that day. And let's just say what the reason is that those folks are not going to be in. So with that said, and again, I'm supportive of our unions too, of giving the feedback that they wanted to continue as it has been forth for a number of years. So I don't think there was a reason for it to be removed. And B, I've had literally hundreds of people come up to me and say, they're kind enough to say I'm the voice of reason on it. I mean, I'm not sure from that, but it's a nice thing that's in what they say, what their feelings are. So I just thought I'd put it forth that folks maybe perhaps reconsider, especially since the board the year before, which was consisting of the same folks, including yourself, Alan, as well, voted unanimously the year before to have it say Good Friday and then not add the items that I suggested to add of the other religious holidays. So I appreciate your patience with me sharing that, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Susan?
I believe on the first page, the list of the days for October, I believe we have a typo in regards to it. It cites Tuesday, October 6th. I believe that would be a Friday, and coinciding with the Monday, October 9th.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
right,
yeah.
because those Cape
You're right.
wide days are
You're right.
days
Thank
or
you, Susan.
Fridays.
The other thing that I sort of have a problem with is every year we seem to have this bunch in September, October of days off, which makes it very difficult for people, working families. So if we can come up with any ideas to help people out with so many early release, etc.
Is that to front load the training?
I
Or
also
if
was
you
looking at
included-
that, and it looks like because November really can't be a time to do that, that's what I was thinking, that maybe that's why it's...
November is such a chopped up month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we just try to be proactive in regards to with the recreation department, etc., perhaps it will be helpful to parents.
The other thing with the early release that concerns me is the attendance factor on early release days. And I know people are concerned about that through school improvement plans, as well as we're meeting to discuss attendance. And I look at early release times and think, okay, is there any way to look at those early release days and maybe compact them, or to put them in a full day? And I don't know if that's possible based on the professional development that's being done at that time. But I just think the half-days are such a cut-up in the flow of education, the instruction of education, that if we can pair those days together, if that's a possibility, I think we really need to look at that as a school district and to kind of observe that as a school committee.
So you're suggesting rather than having 6 half-days, we would have 3 full days off?
Yes, and try to pair them up with vacations or maybe a long weekend or something of that nature. I think in public education, it's all over. We break up the flow so often. And then I think when you break up the flow, you lose instructional time.
So that was discussed during the calendar
Yeah.
subcommittee meeting, and that research, it's going to take some time doing research about, how educators feel about that, how families feel about that, and seeing what's best for the community. And
And there's so many sides to that, and I agree with you. I would love to have full days, because our professional development is chopped up, not just because of it being 3 half-days, but the way it has to rotate and cycle through in terms of when a group can start and when a group can stop.
Yes.
Because everybody has different
Time
start and
changes,
stop times,
yes.
right? So you have that issue. And I agree in terms of the attendance piece, and we've looked at that, and I believe Charlie's office gave you some information around attendance on half-days. And then there's another side of that also, however, if you do 3 days, sometimes it's hard to keep the flow going over time for a year also, right? Because you only have 3 days, so that's a consideration. And then I'd really want more feedback from the staff and from parents, because I'm not sure, I know half-days are a pain in the neck. Are full days more difficult on families? I'm just not sure. So we have absolutely had this conversation repeatedly. If I had my day, I'd have full days and I'd have more of them. Right? The other piece of that is there is an implication in terms of the budget, because you can count those half-days as instructional time.
Yes.
Once you take those away, you add to the length of the year if you made them full days. You see what I'm saying? So there are so many layers, and I'm hoping that the calendar committee over the next 2 years really is able to take a look at that with union representatives and then doing some surveys to families. But I agree, I would really like to take a closer look at that.
Yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more front-end loading on professional development. I know sometimes that's very difficult with how things are done. Teachers need time. Faculty meetings need time, and people need to get oriented to their buildings and stuff. And I understand all that. And to back-end load, to me, is not professionally what teachers need.
I agree.
It's the end of the year, and
It's the end of the
instruction
year.
is, you know, it's a tough situation. And it's tough to front-end load, because then obviously there is a gap, because you have a day or 2 days, let's say, and then where are you going to put it through the year? So I understand all this, but I just, full day, that's what I want. I want kids there a full day.
Is
So,
there a limit to the number, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Is there
Go
a
ahead.
limit to the number of days that we can do before school starts, or does that also run into?
That's
Because
union, right?
Yes, that would add to the calendar.
Yeah, it would add to the calendar.
It would add to the teacher's calendar,
Yes.
but it would eliminate the chopped up days off during the year.
There are collective bargaining implications.
Of course,
Yes.
yes, but I mean, we're looking at, we're not solving this for next year, we're just trying to think about all the possible solutions, right?
Been trying for 20 years. Including a March vacation instead of a February and an April.
John?
One of the things that we're touching on that too, definitely, Bill, and it's definitely, again, something that, you know, I think all of us, I know I've gotten a lot of feedback that people are not keen on the half-days. But it is, you know, some of the things are, like Nancy was saying also, that, you know, it's sort of the item that you know versus the item that you don't know. You know, when, you know, with the folks, if they really looked at it, then say, all right, then I have to get somebody to watch the child for the whole day. And then there's, and maybe it'd be fine, but maybe it would create another dynamic. And then also the other item with the kids that have the school breakfast and the school programs, you know, does that then create a day? I know that's something that does get factored in with the, you know, with the snow days and everything too. Is that a kid that is maybe not eating as well as they could that particular day too?
That's a really good point, because as we move forward, that needs to be something that we bring up with anybody that may take on that childcare, is providing that for either the half-days or the full days. So that's a really good point.
And potentially during vacation too, maybe it could be a provider, so that consistency for kids too.
Other comments? We will come back to this for a vote at a future meeting.
Okay. And Sharon, we'll make those changes on the dates.
Next item is to act to accept a donation of 35 computers and peripherals from the Seacrest Hotel, Delaware North Hotel.
I'd like to just speak to this for 1 second, please. Oh. So I am recommending that this school committee accept 35 PC computers donated by the Seacrest Hotel at Delaware North Hotel Company. The technology staff has inspected these systems against minimum specifications outlined in the Falmouth Public Schools Computer Equipment Donation Guidelines and have determined that they meet the standards. And after reviewing the inventories, we are recommending that these systems are approved and that they be placed at North, East, Mullen Hall, and T-Ticket, and they will be used to replace aging equipment. And I'd just like to thank John Fenari for bringing this forward. We are very excited, and Cindy and her staff have gone through them with a fine-tooth comb to make sure they meet the requirements and to make sure that they can be utilized in our schools. So we are extremely appreciative. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yes.
Can I get a motion to accept the donation of 35 computers and peripherals?
Motion to accept.
Can I get a second?
A second.
Any further discussion?
If I may.
John?
I, of course, would have to abstain from the vote, but I just want to, again, thank Clark Wynn, our general manager, and just that Delaware North bought Seacrest last year. Many of you may know or not know that they're the owners of the TD Garden and the Boston Bruins as well. So we're very pleased that they're continuing the tradition of being good stewards and good neighbors, and we plan on continuing to give back with a focus on education and preparing the next generation, and then also supporting the staff that has a critically important job of nurturing these children throughout life.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention?
Abstain.
Motion passes. Thank you, John. Please convey our thanks.
Absolutely.
Next item on the agenda is to act to accept a $500 grant from the Exxon Mobil Corporation for the Falmouth High School Math Science Department. What do we know about this?
And I don't think I have paperwork on this one.
We have this in the last,
I thought we did.
I think we already approved this.
I think we did too.
Let's look at the,
I think the grant that we wanted to,
yeah, I thought we did this too.
yeah,
Where's the
it's the,
minutes?
I have a WISTEP grant.
I have it here. I don't have the breakdown.
I think it's
that was-
No, it was a different $500 that we did last
But
time.
I feel like Exxon was the...
Exxon was the ROV one that we did last time, this,
This is different.
right?
So this one.
No, that wasn't Exxon.
It wasn't
Do you have
Exxon?
paperwork on this one? Hold on.
What was the oh, no, you're right,
Jason.
it wasn't. Sorry.
Do we have any paperwork on this? What do we know about this?
Math and science, right?
Oh, it looks like it was in your briefing. Exxon Mobil has sent a $500 grant to the FHS Math Science Department. This year, the grant came through the Yarmouth Store nomination of Falmouth High School. FHS has been the recipient of this grant in the past, and it will be deposited into the STEM account per past practice. This came from Paula Cahill at Falmouth High School. So it's for the STEM programs. Donated $500 from Exxon, Math and Science Department.
Can I get a motion to accept a grant of $500 from Exxon Mobil to the FHS Math Science Department?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
Great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Next is to act to adopt revisions of policy IKF, conditions to receive a Falmouth diploma, and IKFA, graduation in less than 4 years.
And I'm going to ask that you approve the revisions of the policies. They have been for a first read with you previously. And I know that we've had 1 or 2 school committees come and have questions about them, and I think we've answered them. And you have the paperwork with the revisions. Go ahead.
Can I get a motion to adopt revisions policy IKF and IKFA?
Motion to proceed with that.
Can I get a second?
A second?
Discussion, John.
Yeah, I imagine we have different things that occur that we have to have guidelines on for what it is, but this may have come up before, but what would be a scenario that someone would need to graduate early, or 3 years or something?
Need to or want to?
Or either?
We don't have that very often. I'm trying to remember the very last time we had a 3-year graduation.
The last one I recall was a student who had the semester at sea opportunity. In the spring, there was a seat that was open and had applied and took that. I'm trying to think of another opportunity where someone took advantage of the policy. They're very rare.
Very rare. Sometimes there are students who want to attend college a year early, and if they have all the credits that are obligated by the state, they can do that. Generally, that has to be a kind of an early decision type thing to the school, working closely with the guidance counselor, but those things can be done. And as a previous guidance counselor, I worked with a couple kids who had done that, and it can work out very well. Kids who are just on top of everything, do super in the SATs, PSATs, SATs, and go through it. It can be done.
Fair enough, thanks, Bill.
And so to be clear, this is not a new policy, it's a revision. to
No,
the
I'm with
existing
you,
policy.
I'm with you. Just made it begged the question of, okay, when would that happen and why, that type of thing.
Further questions?
I just have a couple of edit things for it. There is on that first, on the IKF, there's just a double, there's the, both, the. We just need to take out the,
Where are you?
the first, the, in the revised one, not that one.
This is the revised one.
No, that one, it looks like this.
Isn't this the clean copy of this?
No, I think that's the old copy of that.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
I'm looking at the old copy.
So it just has an extra the,
I see it.
and
Both the common law.
and there's just one other little teeny edit, is the, on the IKFA, the graduation in less than 4 years, general information. His, her, on that second paragraph, there's just an extra R there.
You see the extra R? Oh, there it is. I got it. Okay.
Further discussion? So I have a question that relates back to school choice. So we have a school choice policy that says we don't take seniors, but we have a conditions to receive a Falmouth diploma policy that says that all you have to be is a minimum of 1 semester of their final year. The reason I've always heard that we don't take seniors as school choice is that we don't feel like them coming into Falmouth High School for a year warrants them getting a Falmouth High School diploma. But our policy to get a Falmouth High School diploma says that all you have to be there is a minimum of 1 semester.
So that would be if they move in, right?
I'm sorry?
If they move in, we can't not.
Doesn't say that.
Now, if they move in, they're entitled for public education.
And
In their district.
So they would be picked up and we'd give
Right.
them a Falmouth
I'm
diploma.
not
Yeah.
questioning the policy.
Right.
Oh,
I'm questioning, as we move into talking about school choice, I'm questioning the policy that we've had in school choice, which we'll talk about later in the meeting, about the fact that we don't take seniors. So I can table that
Okay.
until that conversation. Okay. All right, any further discussion about these policies? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Both pass. All right, conducting routine business, approving the minutes from 1/10/16.
I have an edit. We need to have Walter there. Walter, you were missing.
Oh, yeah.
You were missing and you weren't even absent.
Yeah, you were there.
Thank you, Leah.
You're welcome.
Can I get a motion to accept the school committee meetings of January 10th, 2017?
I'll make a motion.
Can I get a second?
Wait, Kelly's taking a peek.
Sharon, did this have that one correction, the new one that you just passed out? Thank you so much. Sorry. didn't mean to-
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I guess I am.
Susan's abstaining? Okay. Superintendent's briefing.
Just very quickly, we have given you copies of the Cape Cod Life Student Art Contest
Yeah.
and our winners. I thought that was really wonderful.
Beautiful stuff.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, beautiful stuff.
Really well done. Very, very exciting, very talented young people in this district. And also a shout out to Ann Goulart and students at the Morse Pond School for their stock market game awards. They got first prize. And I thought that was pretty incredible. And I know that Mr. McLaughlin will be accompanying them at some point in the spring to a celebration in Boston for that. Chris Brothers received a $500 WISTEP mini grant for the Living Laboratory for the vernal pools. I have a copy of that letter in your packet. And I put copies of the books that Sonia Tellier and I are reading at the elementary schools, and we have donated copies of those books to every elementary school. And that's really all I have.
Questions for Nancy? John?
Just a comment. With the classes that we're doing, the trading floor and everything, if it ever is a possibility, if anyone is ever interested, my college, Bentley University, has a really robust trading floor, like a mock trading floor, and I could look into seeing if we could set up a visit up there. It's really pretty cool. You might get a kick out of it. Yeah.
That's cool.
Great.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
No, I did not either.
Any other questions for Nancy? Thank you, Nancy. Questions for the directors? Sonia, is there anything in your report that you'd like to highlight?
I would be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Sonia?
I just have a comment.
Leah.
It was nice to see all these articles spotlighting what's been going on in the schools with the author letter and with the Facing History. So,
Thank you, Andrea.
yeah. And I actually just went to a training with both of those people, so I got to say congratulations on all of those. Thank you. So.
Any other questions for Sonia? Thank you, Sonia. Zach, is there anything from your report that you would like to highlight?
I'll be happy to answer any questions of the committee.
Questions for Zach? All right. Charles, is there anything from your briefing that you would like to highlight?
Sure. A few things here. First of all, regarding the note with Fresh Market, there is a change from what is listed. There is no, in the end, Fresh Market this coming week. There was a change on the part of the service center with some of their dates. The next Fresh Market will be on February 9th, and that will be at T-Ticket. And then the high school one will be later in the spring. I believe that might be in March or April, actually. So I just wanted to point that out, and they continue to really go very, very well. The last one we had actually was at T-Ticket. It was the first one of the year back at T-Ticket, and they really enjoyed being back there, having been at East Falmouth from the start of the school year. And then I gave Nancy the memo regarding school choice numbers. I think that may be in your packets. Correct?
I don't think it was the one that we got electronically.
In the hard copies.
May I have one as well?
Can I ask a question about Fresh Market
Yep.
before you go to that? Is there any plan to have Fresh Market over at Mullen Hall or North Falmouth?
Right now, we've been having conversations about that. In terms of how it was left for this year, was to introduce the high school and then to kind of revisit it again. What we've noticed is with T-Ticket and particularly East Falmouth, it's really established kind of a comfort level, whereby even when we did it at the high school, it just wasn't, and mind you, it was the first time, as popular, let's say, as those other two schools. This now is, I believe, the fourth year that Fresh Market has been in place, and what we're now noticing is these students are now moving to Morse Pond and Lawrence. And so there were some conversations around whether now we want to kind of move them up for those families. So we're having conversations. I'm not going to say they haven't closed to the idea of that, but it's part of a bigger.
It would just be great to offer it to families in Mullen Hall and North, and I guess Morse Pond hasn't had it either, and
Correct.
Lawrence hasn't.
Correct.
Okay, so.
It's pretty much always historically been those two schools introduced in the high school.
And do you know how many families from other schools attend?
All over. In
Okay.
addition to families outside of the schools
Okay.
who are in the neighborhood and come. So it really is a broadened, not audience, but group that comes.
So to be clear, just because it's at T-Ticket or at East Falmouth, students from any of the schools, and in fact families who may not even have students in our schools, are welcome.
Correct. It is open to all within our Falmouth school family, and yet we don't close the door to others who come.
Thank you, Charles. Charles, you want to go over the school choice numbers?
Sure. Pretty much the only thing I would point out is for 7th grade, it shows 0. And that is because this current year, we did not accept any 6th graders because that was the bubble year in terms of our Falmouth class sizes. That's the group that will be moving to 7th grade. And so we're kind of putting a limit on those numbers. Kindergarten is to be determined until we begin to have our kindergarten registrations and we get a sense of what that Falmouth enrollment will be before we really commit to any type of kindergarten numbers from the outside.
So let me follow up on the grade 7 piece. So I certainly have understood it as we've gone through the elementary and into Morse Pond, because you have students kind of in their classrooms, in their teams and so forth, and introducing more students might put us over and require another section.
Correct.
Is the same thing true given the structure of the Lawrence School? Would we, if we added some school choice seats in 7th grade, might we be risking needing to hire an extra teacher or something like that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Susan?
A couple of typos. The end of the first sentence, it says 2015, 2016 year, so that should be 17, 18. And then down under the asterisk where applications for any remaining spots most likely should be August 1st, 2017.
Thank you, Susan. So I'll raise the question that I raised just a little bit earlier. So do we want to, in fact, continue our policy of not accepting school choice students into the 12th grade?
Yes. No, I think it should be changed. I think the student would have to be here a full year. The student comes with a transcript. Counselor sits down, breaks down a transcript. You obviously know at that point in time what the core curriculum is needed for the senior year. I think it can be done, but it has to be done on a full year basis. Can't come in half year. But I think to open that up, and you may not get any, you may get a couple, but to have the opportunity to maybe change and come to Falmouth may be an alternative for some people who maybe have had some concerns or maybe weren't, because the numbers are obviously very good. Maybe some people want that opportunity.
I'm not comfortable having this conversation without having some input from the high school principal and the high school guidance counselor. I know
Understood.
that there have been some real struggles, and so I think it is premature to begin to address any policy change at this point without some real clear guidance from what makes sense to the principal and the guidance director.
Okay.
In addition to that, I'd be curious what other districts' policy about 12th grade is.
Okay. Any other questions? So we will come back, I believe we are scheduled for public hearing on school choice at our next school committee meeting on the 14th of February. Anything that you would like to highlight from Cindy's report?
So, no.
Okay. Any questions about Cindy's report? Patrick, anything that you would like to highlight from your briefing?
I just want to thank a few folks who helped put this book together. Anne Marie Sylvia, Lynn Phillips, Ginny DeLuca, Jill Coons, Rachel Bento, and Sharon Reed. This takes a lot of work. So, and it's a lot of teamwork.
Thank you. Any questions for Patrick? Thank you, Patrick. Moving on, report from the chair. I have two things. Number one, the school start times task force continues with its work. We are meeting on Thursday. We are in the process right now of developing scenarios, which will go back out to the PTOs, to the school councils, to the schools and so forth, and we will report back as our schedule. I don't remember when we're coming back to the school committee, but we are on schedule. And the second thing is, as I drove by Mullen Hall the other day, I saw the tractor out there digging up the lawn and saw Andrea's article electronically online today. Mullen Hall, the track is being constructed and the basketball courts will be constructed in the spring. So major changes happening there. Looks great.
That's good.
That's awesome.
Reports from committee members. Leah.
So I did book us a table at the FEF Gala for school committee. So if you are interested, if you could send in your check, a table I believe seats 8, so I think it's most of us if we want to go. And so just a reminder, you got a little letter from FEF, you can send it in, or you can go online and register for the gala. One other thing is on January 13th, I went to the Coalition for Children, had a Celebrating the World on Cape Cod, and it was absolutely fabulous. It was just community members from different cultural backgrounds coming together and celebrating who they are and celebrating with everybody. And it was, Maria Pachuk was instrumental in getting that together. And they're looking at doing more this year. So that was at the East Falmouth School, and it was a wonderful way to really see our diversity within Falmouth. So,
Thank you. Any other reports from committee members? I was coming right over there. I got there before
I'm
you
not
cleared
always
your throat.
confident. Your eyes
I know. I need one of those mirrors. I need a mirror right
Yeah,
there.
one of those rounded mirrors, right? See both sides. This is more because our student representative isn't here tonight, that she might have said, this weekend is the senior auction at the Coonamessett, so I would encourage people to consider going, get a great meal, great company, and help the school, help
Thank
the
you, Terry.
senior class.
do you have to sign up for that? How does that work?
You can buy tickets, I mean, you can, I don't know that you can buy them at the door. I
Okay.
don't know.
Sharon, maybe you could find that out for us
Yeah,
and
that'd
just
be
send us
great.
a note.
Sure.
That would
I
be
already
greatly
have mine figured
appreciated.
out.
Thank you.
I have someone who works there got mine, so I don't know what the,
Can I go back to Leah's mentioning of the gala? How do we ensure that we're actually all together? Do we have to tell them that we're registering for that table? How does this work?
I don't think so, because you go and seat yourself there. So when you, or that's how it's always been at the gala. You go and find a seat.
Right.
So if there's the table, so if you register, you just come to our table. Our table will be reserved.
It's not, okay.
Can we put our name tags on?
Yeah, it will say Falmouth School Committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other reports from committee members? Any requests for follow-up information? Terry?
Okay, it's long tonight, so I'd like to make a motion to move into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining. An open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining. It is expected the school committee will not return to public session.
Can I get a second, please?
Second that motion?
Roll call.
Fine.
Yes.
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 We're adjourned. We're adjourned into executive session, whatever that is.